Hey, it's Ryan. I'm just gonna tell you how to get into D&D because everyone should at least try or learn about it and slash or play it. What I've heard from my friends is that they are scared to get into D&D because it's too complicated to learn. They're scared of the roleplay aspect. They're scared of learning all the math and all of the tricks to it. My biggest tip outside of this video is just be yourself. You don't have to win the game. You don't have to min-max. Now, it's fun to min-max, but your DM would rather you play than avoid the table because you are afraid of what's gonna happen. And before we get into how to get into this, a few things to note. If your DM doesn't allow you to talk outside of character and be like, I don't know what to do, or if your DM makes anything that makes you uncomfortable, leave that table because no dungeon master should be able to make a player feel like they can't be who they're playing. Besides that, let's get into the meat and potatoes of this video. You know, we have to get into the good berries. Rule 1 for character making, be diverse. That is all you have to do about your D&D is don't do the traditional, my family died so I'm working in a tavern where I meet everyone. No, you have to make it work for you. You have to give your DM something to work with besides the fact that your parents got killed and you're depressed. Not every D&D character has to be edgy or sad. Now, is it a good plot line? Yes, it's a very good plot line because it gives your DM something to work with. But if you open up the horizons of, hey, maybe my family is alive and there's some sort of noble royalty outside the country, then that can give your DM something outside of the world to work with and put it in. Whereas if you say, oh, your parents dead, your character can be depressed, but what else does it build? Another really big thing about D&D is the flavoring. It is different from homebrew because homebrew is like a modification, or think of it as like a DLC to a game. Whereas flavoring is simply just changing how you do things to fit your character. So, for instance, if you were a necromancer casting Goodberry, instead of casting a literal berry, you could flavor it and be like, hey, I have a cursed finger, almost like some Jujutsu Kaisen stuff where you eat it, you get the health, and if you want to flavor it, you could add some other thing, let it go through your DM, but that's still flavoring nonetheless, is talking about how if I cast something, I'm going to do it in my character or how my character would do it. So, for instance, if I was a druid vampire casting Primal Urge, where you either your fingernails or teeth get sharp, instead of being like, out of nowhere my teeth get sharp, you could be like, I use my vampire fangs to clamp into somebody's neck and do that 1d10 damage. Another really big tip, always respect your DM. Now, DMs will always, 9 out of 10 times they will work for you. They will text you behind curtains and be like, hey, am I doing good? Usually always at the end of a session, even my DM does it. They always talk about what are our pros, what are cons, what can we do better next session. And we all talk about it for at least 20 minutes after a session because DMs will always work for the player because the DM plays the game with you. Just don't be a dick. Will your DM piss you off? Yes, all the time. He messes with Bruce left and right. Bruce is one of my characters if you don't watch the little show. Moral of the story, no one likes a bad player, alright? There's no such thing as a bad player in D&D, but no one likes those type of players where it's like, DM, God, why would you do it? It's not canon to my character. Because they build the game. They are allowed to do whatever. Now, there's bad DMs too, same as bad players, quote unquote, but that's besides the point. Now, a really big thing to D&D, remember your spell slots. That is all it takes if you play a caster or a 3/4 caster It doesn't matter what you play. Remember your spell slots. It can save your DM so much time. It can save you so much time. And it just carries the game. Because if you're in mid-combat looking for, oh, did I cast this spell earlier? It kind of slows down the game. And then everybody's waiting on your turn. And it also can work for your DM because whenever in my episode where I jumped off an elevator that went forever and I just kept casting Featherfall with even level 2 and 3 spell slots, it's very important to remember that because by the time I got down, my DM was like, alright, remove all your spell slots except 2 or 3. And I was like, I have those spell slots to use. Whereas if I forgot those, it could have just ruined the whole game and be like, f if I do, you know? Another really big part to D&D, do your homework. Search up how to get better at role-playing. Jenny V is really good. How to Dungeon Master is really good. There's so much sources out there to help you. Even this video can help you a little bit. I'll put some stuff in the comments below to be like, hey, watch this if you want to get into D&D. Never be afraid to go out of your way to research. One thing about D&D, just be creative. You don't have to be some boot-licking goody two-shoes, or you don't have to be some over-the-top terrorist villain. You can mesh those. You can be chaotic neutral. You can be lawful evil. You can have any morals you want because D&D has no boundaries. Even with homebrew, you can homebrew your own ideas. You can flavor your own ideas. But you have to be creative. That is the only way you can play D&D. Now, everyone's more creative than others. Sometimes you can be less creative one day, more creative on the other. But when, for example, when I found out Bruce can take skins, and because he's a College of Whispers bard, and he can skin walk basically, what I do on my downtime is I do some reconnaissance and I'll go undercover and learn about the police, and I'll do some like undercover stuff because that is his whole thing. That is, to me, creativity, because who is just like, hey, for a week straight, I just want to assassinate guards and do some reconnaissance, you know? Not many people think of that. Whereas in D&D, there's so much that is unexplored there. And you can always try to explore something new that no one has ever done. Like, there's a frog bounty hunter. There's just so much to D&D that you can do. Almost no two characters will ever be the same. So always just pump out your creativity. And with all that, I think there's so much to do in D&D, whereas like it can be a bit intimidating. So I understand why people are like, I want to get into it, but I'm kind of intimidated on it. Don't. Just think of it as like an art project. And you put in your time, you put in your hours. Sessions will take forever. You have to do a lot of math. But you're also spending time with your group of friends. You're spending time with your DM. You're being able to express yourself in another character. It's almost like a persona or a character that you can't be in real life, so you bring them out in a fantasy world. That is what is really important about D&D. And also, you'll be cool as fuck. With that, thanks for watching. This is Ryan, and I hope this helps.